I have 5 sisters. This will be relevant later. I found out about it from one of my sister's husbands. They had known about it for between 4 to 8 weeks and couldn't handle the guilt of keeping it from me anymore. As the fallout began, I pieced together most of the story, which was that my wife and brother-in-law had carried on an affair for about 4 to 6 months sometime after the miscarriage of our first child. They kept it a secret for about 4 years. Eventually, my brother-in-law cracked and told my sister, the other cheated-on spouse. She, for some reason, immediately circles the wagons around her philandering husband and proceeds to tell 3 of the other 4 sisters in my family about it in May 2014, in an attempt to paint my wife as the bad guy, and she was, and swears them all to secrecy. She claims it was because she needed their support as she processed her feelings. Then sister number 5 and her husband find out about it in September-October 2014, I still know nothing, because brother-in-law spilled the beans to them. They all sit on it for weeks. Then, the cheated-on sister decides that she's going to tell my 89-year-old grandpa and parents before she confronts my wife about it. Literally 2 days later, and the day that my sister was going to confront my wife about this, my grandpa kinda randomly dies in the last week of November 2014. So, all 6 of us kids, me plus 5 sisters, and my sister's respective spouses all travel to the wake/funeral. By coincidence I happen to sit directly in front of my brother-in-law. There's crying, there's hugging, there's, "I'm sorry for your loss, brother," from this guy. Everyone else knows what's going on. They know I don't know, and they can't believe they're seeing this guy do this to my face. Where it gets scary for them is they all know I conceal carry, and apparently the family thought I would just react if when I found out, I wouldn't have, but I guess I can't blame them for being concerned. So my dad rids everyone the riot act before I show up and tells them that this is absolutely not going to come out during the funeral. So, we get through the funeral and the next few days spent at my parents' house are just awkward as F. Every time I walk into a room, the mood noticeably darkens. My sisters stop talking and just stare at me. It was so weird I finally ended up leaving early, still confused about what was happening. Drive the few hours back home. Tell my wife all about it. She plays dumb. Then she tells me that she's pregnant, with number 3. A few days later, in December, as I'm buying my wife's Christmas presents, I get a cryptic text message from sister number 5's husband tipping me off. It wasn't much, but it was enough info for me to start my own little investigation and start wringing information from people. And that's basically how I found out my SO was cheating on me. TLDR. Found out my wife was cheating on me with my brother-in-law, my sister's husband. I was away on Navy training in Texas. My wife called me constantly and had a lot of anxiety and depression due to the separation. It was only supposed to be 3 months. After a month in, I got a call from my neighbor back home saying she had to call 911 on my wife because my wife tried to kill herself. I literally went UA, left the military without being excused. The military wasn't too happy with it. But I was going crazy at that point and didn't care. When I got home, my wife was acting very strange. Very insecure. Always checking up on me. I recommended she should stay with her parents to kinda clear her head and we could try to take things slow and overcome her most recent suicide attempt. Her parents saw we were falling apart, so they sent us to Vegas and paid for everything. They did this as a sort of getaway and to help rekindle the flame that was lost. While in Vegas, I got a call from my parents saying they wanted to talk to me and to swing by their place on my way home. I asked what was up, but they didn't want to talk about it over the phone. Meanwhile, in Vegas, my wife and I got matching tattoos. Our initials on our ring finger. I thought it would help make her feel more secure and resolve her lack of trust for me if I did this to show her how much I loved her. Our Vegas trip ends all happy and well, as I think we're going to be fine. I swing by my parents' place as requested with my wife. My parents, very calmly in front of me, told my wife they knew she was having an affair with another guy. She tried denying it before they could finish talking. They calmly told her they knew for a fact and to please not lie. She again tried denying it. I remember that moment very well. It was as if I was underwater and everything was happening very slowly. Time just sort of slowed down. I cut her off from talking and told her if she came clean I would try to work it out. But if she lied and what they were saying was, in fact, true, we were over. She admitted to cheating on me. She met a guy on Craigslist after only a week I was away for training. They met up in a Walmart parking lot during her work lunch break and screwed in his car. My wife went back to work and just couldn't keep the latest sexcapade to herself, so she gossiped with her closest friend at work. My wife worked for my brother's law firm. Eventually he had to lay someone off and it was the coworker my wife told that was getting the boot. My brother called in the coworker and told her she was being laid off. The coworker threw my wife under the bus to save herself from being fired. My brother called my parents because he didn't have the heart to tell me himself. And that's when I got the call from my parents while in Vegas. I gave up my dream job of being a Navy corpsman for a cheater, got a tattoo on my ring finger of the initials of a cheater, and my grandfather died on my birthday the day before I found out she was cheating on me. My life was pretty miserable for a moment or two. But I did recently stay at a Holiday Inn Express. So I've got that going for me. Which is nice. Edit. Yes. The coworker got to keep her job. My brother had her call my ex-wife while we were in Vegas and tell her she was fired. My ex-wife pretended she didn't care, which confused/concerned me because she was well liked. The tattoo was removed through laser treatment. Very expensive and painful. I still have a scar though. She started a semester before I did at the same college and I came up a couple of times to visit her, since it was only about 2 hours away. During my visits, I became friends with a lot of her friends, many of which I am still friends with today. One of them, Luke, was a guy I met randomly, without her introducing him to me, but we got along very well. I came up one weekend to surprise her for her birthday, which many of her friends helped me set up. I felt like there was something off, but I didn't say anything about, until the last day that I was there. We got into an argument and I ended up asking her if there was someone else and to tell me the truth, because it would upset more to find out that I could never trust her anymore. She said no, and later on that day I went back home. Shortly after, I got a message from Luke saying something along the lines of, "Look, you're a really great guy, and I don't know any other way to say this, but she's cheating on you. I'm really sorry to be the one to say it, but you really deserve better. I hope you don't hate me for this, but someone had to do it." After I saw his message, I called her and confronted her again, which she denied. Then I said that someone told me. She finally came clean and I told her to go F herself. Even though we went to the same college, I spoke to her maybe once or twice after that because she had broken my trust. I've had clean breakups before, but that's because I can trust them. I am still grateful for what he did for me and have since then been in his place too. It sucks to be that guy, but sometimes you have to be. We stayed in touch for a bit, but soon after I started, he left school for personal reasons and I haven't talked to him since. I had a job delivering the local paper with my neighbor. We lived in an apartment complex that was in the shape of a hollow square with a courtyard in the middle. She lived with her husband and 2 children on the bottom on the corner of the building, and I lived with my husband and 2 very small kids in the apartment directly above her. Across the courtyard on the bottom floor was a woman my husband had been spending a lot of time with after her husband left for a fishing job in Alaska for the season. He swore it was just a friendship. One night my neighbor and I are out doing our route at about 2 a.m. when we needed to stop by the apartments. We didn't normally stop at home, so no one would have expected us for another couple of hours. We pull in and both head for our apartments. When I entered mine, I quickly realized that my 2 small children, both under 5, were asleep and alone in the apartment. I figured my husband was downstairs hanging with the neighbor's husband as he regularly does. I go downstairs and ask if he's in there. When they said no, I knew. I turned around 180 and my eyes zeroed in on her apartment. I stormed over there and banged on her door. No response. I banged and banged, then I went around the back and banged on what I knew was her bedroom window. I was yelling the whole time. I went back to the front and continued to bang on the front door until finally she opened it. I could see all the way through the apartment and into her bedroom where I saw my husband pulling up his pants. They both clearly had just woken up. I was more upset at the time that the kids were home alone while he was asleep in some other woman's bed that's what I screamed at him about. Told him to get back to our children. I then turned around, got my neighbor and went back to work. He denied they did anything, just fell asleep while hanging out. Whatever, a-hole. Here was my sweet revenge. So I left him after this incident, but couldn't afford to take care of 2 small children and he had no place to go, so he continued living with us. This is how he usually got me to eventually take him back, and I hate to admit that I did eventually in this case, but I did leave him permanently about 15 years ago. Her husband was returning soon after all this went down and I told her that I couldn't wait to tell her husband what she had done. She of course got to him first. When he returned, I saw him and walked towards him but he immediately yelled that he knew I was trying to start crap with his wife and he wasn't going to believe anything I said. I told him, okay dude. Believe what you want. You'll find out the truth sooner or later. We didn't see them again after that, pretty much avoided them as much as possible. Then about 5 months after this all happened I started taking some classes at the nearby community college. The first week I was there a guy approached me and started talking to me. At first acting coy, asking if we knew each other because I looked familiar. I didn't recognize him so he eventually told me that he was the other woman's husband. He told me that he found out she was a lying cheating hoe and he wished he had actually talked to me back then, could have saved him some heartache. After we chatted for a while, he made an interesting proposal. He said it initially like it was a joke, but he was serious. He wanted to get back at both my husband and his own wife and thought the best way to do that was for the 2 of us to have our own affair. At first I laughed it off, but he was cute, built really well, and F it, I would like to get back at those 2 as well. So that's how my affair with him started. We were sneaky about it at first, but eventually it came out. Boy was that bee livid. She freaked the F out. I thought it was all great. He eventually moved out into his own place. We continued to see each other for a short time after that, but once the revenge motive was gone, there wasn't much left between the 2 of us. We drifted apart and I haven't seen him or the bee since. LOL. I'm not proud of this. It's my least charming moment. It was Christmas. My boyfriend and I were living together but had gone to visit our respective families for the holidays. I was a student at the time so I left a week early, leaving him alone in the apartment before he eventually went home for the holidays. We had plans for New Year's Eve but the weather forecast was calling for a huge snowstorm. I was supposed to drive back, so I let him know that I was going to head back a few days early to beat the storm. He started in with all of the stories/explanations for things I might find in the apartment, an unwrapped video game and sushi set, which allegedly came from a workplace Secret Santa. Smelled like BS to me. So when I got back to the apartment, I searched high and low for evidence to confirm my suspicions. That he was seeing someone else and that she had been there while I was at home visiting my family. He did a top-notch job cleaning up after himself, though. Except that he forgot to empty the bathroom garbage can. The day before New Year's Eve, I found myself sitting on my bathroom floor, emptying the contents of the trash can, and unwrapping 8 used tampons. TLDR. I touched the dirty tampons of the girl my ex was banging. Not my finest moment. I knew she was cheating, but the way I found out traps me in silence. I had suspected my wife was cheating on me back in September 2019. I went through her phone and found a bunch of flirty, but on the line, messages between her and a mutual friend of ours, who is also married with kids. There were some other things I found but this was the main thing. I confronted her and admitted to snooping on her phone. She told me she was sorry for being flirty, but there was nothing there. We worked it out in couples therapy, and actually were very close because of this. I started getting suspicious a few months ago and did some phone snooping here and there, but nothing I found was black and white. Still, I kept snooping, but in different ways. I recorded a conversation between her and her friend. It confirmed everything. She had been seeing him since the fall, when I was first suspicious. She is in love with him. They have been meeting up without my knowledge. I am 95% confident there is sex, but I mean really it's the feelings that get you right. And, to make it worse, it's clear she has no intention of stopping. So, I've been crying like almost every night with the fact I have this black and white evidence, but can't use it. What do I do? Let her keep doing it and never bring it up, don't like this. Catch her red-handed by upgrading snooping to super spy mode. GPS trackers, hidden cameras and mics, etc. Confront her, but not bring up the info. I have no idea how to do this. She will demand evidence. Leave for 1 or 2 days and go to my buddy's place, telling her to call me when she is ready to tell me everything. This is tough. I got kids. Keep monitoring her to see if I can get some other way to get more usable evidence. Go to the guy and confront him? Get the wife of the guy involved so we can take them down together? Some options I am missing? But then, the big questions are, what do I want from this? 1. Have her admit to me she cheated? Yes. I very much want this and feel it's key to forgiveness. However, I have read many things that cheaters never tell, which I clearly have seen. Especially in my case where she wants to keep it going. 2. Stay married? I used to be into keeping it going, but she lied to me when I first confronted her, and many times after that when I was suspicious. She had the opportunity to come clean then. After hearing the recording, I was like, who is this person? I don't know this person. I don't want to stay married to them. 3. Get separated/divorce? Kids? We got them. I am tired of feeling like crap and not having any motivation to do anything else but obsess about this. Thanks for reading. You know enough to justify a divorce. File for divorce tomorrow. Practice this line. I don't have to prove to you what you know you have done. It is the perfect answer to her BS questions about how and what you know. By not telling her what you know, she doesn't know what all she has to deny. Did he see more messages? Did he see us screw in the parking lot last week? Did someone else tell him? It drives lying cheaters insane when they didn't know how much to admit and how much to lie. Definitely tell the AP's wife. It is deeply satisfying watching the face of your wife when you tell her how the other wife knows, and her boyfriend denounced your cheating wife and begged his good wife not to leave him. Your wife is just a side POS to him. He will throw her under the bus in a second. Have her pack her things and leave. Point out how you were willing to fix things with her, but her doubling down on her lies makes her an unsafe partner and a bad candidate for reconciliation. Again, shut down any talk of counseling. She lied and BS'd her way through the last one. Do not believe anything your wife tells you. When you cornered her last time, she squirmed and lied her way out of it. She will lie and gaslight you again. Good luck.